Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so very much for joining us today. My name is Shireen Hunt, and I am a learning officer at the Jewish Museum London. And today I'm joined by Philippa Carr from Jami, Jewish Mental Health Service, Charlotte Agren from the Holocaust Educational Trust, and Billy and Fiona, Holocaust Educational Trust Young Ambassadors. And today we are here to share with you all about the Your Legacy and Me project, a project in which we at the Jewish Museum in London tasked the Holocaust Educational Trust's young ambassadors to creatively respond to photographs that belong to survivors in our collections. Survivors that continue to share their testimony with us today. Elsa Shamash, Gerta Babova, Jackie Young, and Solly Irving. The artwork that these Educational Trust Young Ambassadors were to create was to be inspired by our exhibition, Charlotte Salomon, Life of Theatre, an exhibition that only closed on the 1st of March. Now, Charlotte Salomon was a German Jewish artist living in Germany and who moved to France later on. And during her time in hiding, she created beautiful pieces of work, which is well known as the Life of Theatre. Now, Charlotte Salomon's work was really a way of expressing her life. She created work using gouache, and on top of this work, she added transparency, tracing paper, in which she wrote words and comments based on her story. Inspired by Charlotte Salomon's work, the Holocaust Educational Trust Young Ambassadors also created artwork based on transparencies, which they would layer over photographs from our survivors. Now, this project was a very important project at the museum, and the young people did such a good job. Now, it was a 2-day project in which the young people really spent a lot of time thinking about what does the Holocaust mean? What does legacy mean? Day number 1 of the project was all to do with defining legacy. What does the Holocaust mean? When we think about legacy, what do we think about? What words come to mind? And then the young people began to familiarize themselves with photographs and stories of Holocaust survivors. Like I said, Elsa Shamash's story, Jackie Young's story, Gerta Babova's story, and Solly Irving's story. After that, it was then time to reflect on the role of a museum, the role of the Jewish Museum as a legacy bearer, how museums use objects and exhibitions to bear legacy, especially when we think about the Holocaust. The Holocaust Educational Trust Young Ambassadors handled real-life objects from this period of history. They then explored the Charlotte Salomon exhibition, thinking about how this exhibition bears legacy of Charlotte Salomon, her family, and the many others who were murdered in the Holocaust. After that was done, they then had the opportunity to meet Jackie Young, an incredible man and survivor who spent his childhood years at Theresienstadt camp before coming over to England with the boys. After day number 1 of defining legacy, the next step was creating legacy. And that was done on day number 2. Now, during day number 2, the Holocaust Educational Trust Young Ambassadors, and I should add there were 14 of them, were able to get the opportunity to meet Dom Chizowski, the head of curatorial at the Jewish Museum. And he spoke about the process of creating and curating an exhibition such as Charlotte Salomon's Life of Theatre. The young ambassadors then met Philippa Carr, who joins me today, and started to really think about how words can be used to create legacy. And finally, they created their own spectacular pieces of artwork, legacy artwork, in which they got their tracing paper, their transparencies, and layered it over Holocaust survivors' photographs to create multi-layered brilliance. Now, this project was incredibly important to us at the Jewish Museum London for many reasons. Firstly, because as we mark the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz and other camps, we're constantly reminded of our importance and our responsibility to continue the legacy of the Holocaust. Secondly, since we had the incredible exhibition at Charlotte Salomon, we really were looking for ways in which we could engage with that exhibition. And thirdly, at the Jewish Museum London, young people really are at the heart. And it was really important that we gave young people a space to creatively respond to our collection, our museum, and share their ideas and creativity. And there was no better group to do that with than with the Holocaust Educational Trust Young Ambassadors. Now I'm going to hand over to Philippa Carr from Jami, the Jewish Mental Health Services, to share her role in this project. Thank you, Philippa.
Thank you so much, Shireen. First of all, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Yom HaShoah for curating such an important event today, and how absolutely delighted I am to be a part of this, representing Jami, as Shireen said, the mental health service for the Jewish community. So we really did welcome the opportunity to take part in this project with fantastic partners, the Jewish Museum and the Holocaust Educational Trust. And we were involved primarily to bring a mental health and well-being component to the project. We wanted to ensure, as everybody did, of course, that as we explored the theme of legacy, which is a profound and deep theme for young people to be relating to, that we were able to provide a safe, supportive environment to nurture the voices of this group. I had the pleasure of delivering a workshop to the Holocaust Educational Trust Young Ambassadors that explored the central concept that we were all thinking and talking about, that of legacy. And I'm going to share with you one of the activities that I did with them that helped them then step into further exploring this concept in art. So one of the activities we did was using what I call a word collage, which I will show you in a moment. And the starting point to create the collage was focusing on some other words that also were close to the meaning of legacy, to really enlarge things and be able to, bring some new ideas to the concept of legacy. So I got out the Cambridge University Thesaurus and I came up with the following words that you can see on the screen now, but I'm also going to show them to you in my handmade little word prompts here. So the words we looked at were, as you can see, inheritance. That was the first one that I shared with them. We also could choose to look at heirloom as well. And another one that came up in that search for words that resonated with legacy was this little one, pass, which I have found very interesting. And I'm going to show you my word collage on pass in a moment. And on the list, this one, assign, bequeath, and lastly, transfer. So we looked at those words. Now, I'm wondering whether today when you hear those words, and they are powerful words, maybe, you can identify with one of them. Maybe in your family, you can think about a specific inheritance you have, or an heirloom, for example, that's been passed down the generations. So, that word heirloom might resonate with you today, as it did with many of the young ambassadors in the workshop. So the group chose one of these words that had the strongest identification with them and created a collage of their thoughts and ideas relating to their associations. So this is one that I did just to give you a flavour of what we did with the group. This is pass. So these are my associations with the word pass today. And hopefully you can have a look at that and see that there. So yeah, for me, you know, when I think of the word pass, I think of privilege. I think of passport. I think of liberty and movement. It's a kind of gateway. And the young ambassadors also responded really creatively to these words. So perhaps one of those words again creates more of a resonance for you and speaks to you today as we mark Yom HaShoah, because all of us, by being here, are helping to carry the legacy. And the group then used this workshop that I engaged them with as a starting point for making their own work about the Holocaust survivors that they learnt from and that they met as well. So it was absolutely delightful to take part. And now I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Charlotte Agron from the Holocaust Educational Trust.
Thank you, Philippa, and thank you, Shireen. So my name is Charlotte, and I'm the Ambassador Programme Manager at the Holocaust Educational Trust. I'm not going to say much, as I know you're probably as keen as I am to hear from our wonderful Holocaust Educational Trust ambassadors, Fiona and Billy, and to hear more about the pieces that they created with a purpose of continuing the legacy of the 4 Holocaust survivors who we focused on as part of the exhibition. I would also like to take a moment to thank Fiona and Billy for the work you have done and continue to do as ambassadors for the Holocaust Educational Trust, ensuring the truth of what happened during the Holocaust is never, ever forgotten. At the Holocaust Educational Trust, our mission is clear: to educate people from every background about the Holocaust and its relevance today. Through our Lessons from Auschwitz project, over 41,000 students and teachers, overwhelmingly non-Jewish, have visited the former Nazi concentration and death camp Auschwitz-Birkenau, seeing for themselves the single largest killing site of the Holocaust. And when they return, they become ambassadors, like Fiona and Billy, invested with a powerful responsibility to share what they have learned, becoming defenders of the truth for the next generation. In years to come, we are confident that the Holocaust will continue to be part of Britain's narrative. Our mission is vital to carry the legacy of the past, but also to fight anti-Semitism and prejudice today. As we know, anti-Semitism didn't end at the liberation of the camps 75 years ago. It is through people like you, Fiona and Billy, and the family and friends that you tell, that the legacy of the Holocaust continues. Those that manage, despite all odds, to bury their stories were witnesses to their present. Today, you are witnesses to their past, and it has never been more important to remember. We must remember that their stories have become ours. Now, this is our story. So I want to start just by asking you both to introduce yourselves and say a little bit about your experiences of learning about the Holocaust, particularly through our Lessons from Auschwitz project, and what motivated you to take part in the Your Legacy and Me project. And we'll start with Fiona.
Hi, my name is Fiona and I'm currently studying for A-levels. Last October, I had the opportunity to take part in Lessons from Auschwitz, and that provided this opportunity to not only visit Auschwitz-Birkenau, but also to broaden the previously textbook understanding of the Holocaust. So the first place that we visited was a small square in the town of Ostrianchen. Here we spent some time considering the effects of cultural erasure in a town which was once home to over 8,000 Jews, and which by 1941, the entire Jewish population had been deported to concentration camps. And this is really powerful as a place to start a journey, because it gave an insight into pre-war Jewish life, while also giving us a chance to see firsthand the impacts of erasing Jewish culture. We stood at the site of the Great Synagogue, which was destroyed by the Nazis in 1939. And it was from seeing this which I felt the urgency to write a blog post as soon as I returned home in order to stress the importance of cultural preservation. And I also wanted to emphasize the point that Jewish life and culture expanded beyond the Holocaust, which is why I think the Jewish Museum's role is really important as an educator of Jewish culture and heritage.
Hi, my name's Billy. I'm a civil servant who works for the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. My knowledge of the Holocaust prior to lessons from Auschwitz was confined to textbooks and documentaries. While they're both important, my involvement with the Holocaust Educational Trust and the Jewish Museum has shown there is so much to learn and there are different ways to learn. As Fiona mentioned, lessons from Auschwitz consisted of visiting Auschwitz-Birkenau, but it also involved hearing from a Holocaust survivor. In my case, I heard from Ziggy Schipper and how he survived the Lodz ghetto, Auschwitz-Birkenau, and Stutthof concentration camp. Hearing a survivor's story is a both powerful and emotive moment. It personalises the Holocaust and it humanises the 6 million who were systematically murdered. It was the most poignant experience of my life and something which will live with me forever. After hearing the survivor and visiting Auschwitz-Birkenau, we then followed this up with our Next Steps project, in which we had to convey what we learned to our school or college. For mine, I gave multiple presentations in front of my school. This included people aged between 11 and 18. I gave them feedback forms, the students, to fill in after the assembly took place, and with this we created a memorial. The reason I got involved with the Your Legacy and Me exhibition is I wanted to gain more knowledge and understanding about the Holocaust. And also, you can't fight anti-Semitism sat in bed. You have to be active, and the Your Legacy and Me exhibition was a great opportunity to do this.
Thank you both for that. So you've spoken a little bit about your motivations on taking part, but how did you find the project? Being at the Jewish Museum, seeing the Charlotte Salomon exhibition itself, and meeting the educators, your fellow ambassadors, and of course hearing from Holocaust survivor Jackie Young. And Fiona, we'll start with you.
I found the whole experience incredible because we not only met so many like-minded people who are similarly passionate about using creativity as an educational force, like Philippa, but we also had the opportunity to meet the survivor Jackie Young and really engage with different historical sources, which not only gave like an interactive element to the Holocaust, but really allowed us to explore different ways of presenting Holocaust education. And I also really like the concept of using tracing paper as an overlay in the style of Charlotte Solomon, because I think it allows not only us to engage with the picture, but also allows the viewer to engage with it and ultimately contribute in the best way to their understanding of the Holocaust.
For me, I found it really good. The project itself brought a range of young people together from various backgrounds. This is highlighted both by me and Fiona being at different points in our lives, yet we're both contributing to such a great thing. The Your Legacy and Me was a fantastic 2 days led by Shireen and others from the Jewish Museum, in which I was able to expand my knowledge on the Holocaust and Jewish culture overall. There was a range of activities we took part in, and all of them were very stimulating. This included hearing from the curator, Dominic Jaraskwick, who put the Charlotte Salomon exhibition together. And this also led us to understand about the conditions Charlotte faced when she created the work, which really brought the piece to life. We also heard, as Fiona mentioned, from Jackie Young about his harrowing story and how he only found out he was a Holocaust survivor and later in life. The exhibition was a very powerful experience, but it was also very fun. This included creative activities with Philippa, which allowed us to reflect how we felt with our creativity in the artwork, which was brilliant. I would also highly recommend visiting the Jewish Museum. It gave me a great insight to Jewish culture in the UK, from learning about Friday night dinner to the emergence of the Bakers Union. I believe education is the best way to fight prejudice, and the Jewish Museum is a great place to learn about Jewish history and culture.
Thank you. Finally, could you briefly talk to us about your pieces and what the thinking was behind them? And Billy, we'll start with you.
Thank you. My piece was based on Jackie Young. As mentioned, we were all fortunate enough to hear from Jackie the day before. So I went home that evening and read up a bit about Jackie and his story. So Jackie didn't know he was a survivor until he was getting married and found documents showing he was actually born in Vienna, and he later found out his family had been murdered in the Holocaust. During Jackie's speech, he also spoke about his life after the Holocaust and his affection for his family, which I tried to convey. Using this knowledge and basing it on Charlotte Solomon's overlay style, I tried to reflect this in my. Also used Polchick's wheels of emotion to try and reflect the type of emotions Jackie may have felt with each word. I chose the picture as Jackie as a child, as it struck me, because at such a young age he had lost his bare family and experienced such horrors. Yet he looks so optimistic and has his whole life ahead of him. I thought I'd try to convey this juxtaposition in my piece. The bottom half on my piece are words associated with Jackie's early life and that of his bare family, such as Vienna and Theresienstadt, the camp Jackie was at, while the top half are words associated with his later life in the UK, such as his beloved wife Lita, who he spoke so fondly about. Thanks.
So for my piece, the survivor which I based my art around was Solly Irving. And so a little bit about Solly Irving was that similar to Billy's survivor, he was a child survivor and he grew up with his parents and four sisters in Poland. In this photo, you can actually see him on a train journey in an open cattle track after being liberated by the Red Army. And this like sense of liberation is what I wanted to convey with my artwork. I wanted to emphasize that Jewish culture, like the water, which is referenced in the quote by Charlotte Solomon, is vast and expansive and is not confined by any structures which like attempt to detract from it. So the quote which I included, it was from the exhibition, and it says, "It knows no rest by day or night. It moves along with all its might, the water." And I thought this was a really powerful way of conveying the message that humanity isn't confined by any sort of particular period of time, but it's so much more than that, and it can be explored in different ways as well.
Brilliant. Thank you both for sharing your thoughts and experiences, and also giving us the opportunity to see your pieces and talk us through them. Shireen, I believe you're going to close today's session.
Yes, definitely. I just want to echo that. Thank you so very much, Billy and Fiona, for sharing your artwork. And we are so delighted at the Jewish Museum to see that artwork up on our walls. It's incredible. Now you'll see that in the PowerPoint, the exhibition opened on the 1st of March, and we had the honour of inviting Jackie Young to open that exhibition with all of you, and we're delighted to continue to tell the legacy of these survivors through your artwork. So thank you so very much again. And thank you, Charlotte from Het and Philippa from Jami, from joining us on this project, but also here today with Yom HaShoah UK. I also want to thank everyone for listening today and joining us in this presentation. Although you can't come to the museum today, we have in fact taken all of these incredible pieces of artwork, digitized it and put them on our website. So should you want to visit and view this incredible body of artwork by the 14 Holocaust Educational Trust Young Ambassadors, then please do feel free to visit our website, jewishmuseum.org.uk, and then click on collections and then online collections, where you'll see this great work. Thank you all very much.